I'd give 10 herds just for one night with you, the cowboy whispered to the widow. Cold winds howled through metal canyons. The sky often glowed with strange colors from the nearby spiral nebula, a reminder that this place was never meant for comfort. Most alien species avoided Caldera's reach. The Galactic Compact had marked it as a low-value system. Too dangerous, too unstable, not worth the effort. Humans, however, had settled there anyway. They always did. Jonah Rook stood beside his herd at the break of artificial dawn. His boots were worn, his coat was patched in several places. A wide-brimmed helmet rested low on his head, its visor scratched from years of dust and debris. He leaned on a long control staff, watching the massive herd beasts shift and grunt as they prepared to move. The creatures were called grazer-class bioforms, but the humans simply called them longhorns. Each one was larger than a ground truck, with thick legs and curved bone plating along their sides. They could survive vacuum for short periods. They could eat almost anything. And they followed human commands better than any alien machine ever could. The Galactic Compact did not understand that. Jonah clicked his staff against the ground. The sound echoed across the plain. The herd responded at once, moving into formation. Dust rose as dozens of heavy feet pressed into the soil. Jonah allowed himself a small smile. "They still listen," he said quietly. A compact drone hovered nearby, its lens glowing pale blue. It belonged to a compact trade officer who had arrived earlier that day. The officer itself, a tall, thin alien with jointed limbs and silver skin, stood at a distance, clearly uncomfortable. "This method is inefficient," the alien said through a translator unit. "Automated systems would produce higher yield." Jonah did not look at the alien. He kept his eyes on the herd. "Automated systems break," Jonah replied. "These don't." The alien made a clicking sound that humans had learned meant disapproval. "Humans rely too heavily on instinct," the alien said. Jonah finally turned. His eyes were calm, steady. "And you rely too much on rules," he said. "That's why you're watching me instead of doing the job yourself." The alien said nothing more. After the herd was moving, Jonah mounted his hover saddle and guided them toward the trade route. The path would take him across a narrow asteroid belt, then down to the main outpost on Caldera's Reach. That outpost belonged to Mara Vey. Mara stood on the outpost's raised platform, watching the horizon. The structure behind her was old, built from layered alloy panels and reinforced glass. It had once been a compact station, abandoned when profits dropped. Mara had rebuilt it with human hands and stubborn will. She wore a long coat against the wind. Her dark hair was tied back, though strands escaped and whipped around her face. Her eyes were sharp, always watching, always measuring. The outpost was quiet, too quiet. She remembered when it had not been. Her husband had been alien, one of the compact species, a trade mediator. Calm, logical, he had believed the compact could be fair. He had been wrong. Mara pushed the memory aside as a dust cloud appeared in the distance. She recognized it immediately. "Herd coming in," she said into the station's intercom. The automated doors opened with a low hum. Jonah arrived an hour later, guiding the longhorns into their holding pens. The beasts settled quickly, trusting the space. Jonah dismounted and stretched his back. Mara approached him. "You're late," she said. Jonah tipped his helmet back slightly. "Storm near the belt," he said. "Lost some time." "You lose any?" Jonah shook his head. "Not today," Mara nodded. "That was good. Every herd mattered. Each one fed colonies, supplied raw material, and kept human trade alive at the edge of space." The two stood in silence for a moment. It was not an uncomfortable silence. It never was between them. "You look tired," Mara said. Jonah shrugged. "Comes with the job." She studied him, then turned toward the outpost. "Come inside," she said. "I'll log the transfer." Inside, the station was warm and dim. Old lights hummed softly. Screens displayed trade data and star charts. Everything was functional, nothing fancy. As Mara worked at the terminal, Jonah leaned against a wall. "You hear the rumors?" Jonah asked. Mara did not look up. "Which ones?" "That compact routes are failing," Jonah said. "Ships disappearing, supplies delayed, systems going quiet." Mara paused. "I hear things," she said carefully. Jonah watched her. He knew she was holding back. "People say it's because humans are involved," he said. "That wherever humans trade independently, the compact loses control." Mara finally turned to face him. "People say a lot of things," she replied. Their eyes met. Something passed between them, understanding, unspoken, and heavy. A sudden alert broke the moment. One of the screens flashed red. Mara's expression hardened. "Compact patrol," she said. "Incoming." Jonah straightened. "Here." "Yes," Mara said. "They didn't announce." That was not normal. Moments later, 3 compact officers entered the station. Their armor was polished, their movements precise. Their leader stepped forward. "Mara Vey," the officer said, "this station is under review." "On what grounds?" Mara asked calmly. "Trade irregularities," the officer replied. "Human-led operations have shown anomalies." Jonah crossed his arms. "Funny," he said. "We've been following every rule you gave us." The officer ignored him. "Mara Vey," it continued, "this outpost may be seized pending investigation." Mara stepped closer. "You already tried that," she said. "Last cycle, and the one before." "Circumstances have changed," the officer said. Mara smiled slightly. It was not a warm smile. "Yes," she said, "they have." The officer's gaze shifted to Jonah. "And you," it said, "your herds are inefficient assets. The compact offers compensation." Jonah laughed softly. "Let me guess," he said. "Credits I can't spend and rules I have to follow." The officer's tone sharpened. "Name your price." Jonah glanced at Mara, then back at the officer. "I'd give 10 herds just for one night with her," Jonah said casually. The room went silent. Mara's eyes widened, not in anger but surprise. The compact officers froze. Their species did not understand exaggeration or metaphor. The lead officer stiffened. "Clarify," it demanded. Jonah smiled. "It means," he said, "you can't buy what doesn't belong to you." Mara stepped forward, her voice steady. "This station is human-run," she said. "This trade is human-led, and we will not be owned." The officers exchanged silent signals. "This is not over," the leader said. They turned and left. When the doors closed, the station felt smaller. Mara exhaled slowly. "That was reckless," she said. Jonah removed his helmet. "Yeah," he admitted, "but it was honest." She looked at him for a long moment. "You didn't mean it like that," she said. Jonah met her gaze. "No," he said, "but I meant every other part." Outside, the wind howled across Caldera's reach. Far above, unseen by either of them, compact surveillance satellites shifted position. The galaxy had begun to notice the humans at the edge. And it was only the beginning. The morning sun barely touched the edge of Caldera's reach when Mara Vey began her day. The wind had died down overnight, leaving only a faint red haze across the plains. From the outpost balcony, she could see the herd beasts resting in their pens, low grunts and soft snorts filling the quiet. Jonah Rook was already moving among them, checking the bioforms for any injury or weakness. His boots left dark streaks on the dusty floor. Even in silence, he carried the calm of someone who had survived worse than storms or compact patrols. "You're up early," Mara said from the doorway. Jonah didn't look up. "I like to see the herd safe before anything else." "Even before your coffee," Mara teased. "Coffee waits," he said. "The herd doesn't," she smiled, but it was brief. She had work to do. The compact had already sent reports to multiple factions. Rumors of human disobedience had begun to circulate, and word traveled faster than any herd. Mara knew that if she didn't act wisely, this outpost would be next. Inside the station, Mara moved quickly. She accessed the trading terminal, analyzing the incoming data. Supply lines had been disrupted across 3 nearby systems, all human-operated, all targeted by compact interference. "Someone is testing us," she said aloud. Jonah leaned against a console, watching her fingers fly across the screen. "Testing what?" "Whether humans will surrender," Mara said. "Whether we will follow the rules of the compact blindly like everyone else." Jonah chuckled softly. "We don't do blind, Mara, you know that." She stopped and turned to him. Her gaze was sharp. "But we also don't fight without purpose. We plan, we wait, and then we act when the moment is right." Jonah nodded. "Exactly why they can't predict us." There was a knock at the station door. Mara opened it to see a small alien courier, almost childlike, clutching a data crystal. "For you," it said in halting basic, "from Outer Belt Traders." Mara took the crystal and inserted it into her terminal. Instantly, streams of encrypted trade reports appeared. The data was alarming. Several human-led supply runs had been sabotaged. Ships had disappeared. Credits had been rerouted. The compact had begun to manipulate the system subtly, making humans appear inefficient. Jonah peered over her shoulder. "They're trying to make us look bad," he said. Mara nodded. "Yes, and if they succeed, they'll take everything we've built here." She pressed a button on the terminal, contacting trusted human traders across neighboring systems. Lines blinked green one by one as they acknowledged her call. They all knew her reputation: fair, persistent, stubborn as a rock. "They won't take it from us," Mara said. "Not if we're careful." Jonah watched her. She was smaller than many humans and certainly smaller than the compact officers who had threatened them yesterday. But there was power in her hands, in her mind, and in the way she carried herself. Humans had always been underestimated, and Mara was proof that size or numbers were never the measure of strength. The next few hours passed in planning and preparation. Jonah prepared the herd beasts for possible emergency transport, while Mara coordinated with the scattered human traders. Every action was deliberate, measured, and cautious. As midday approached, a compact patrol ship appeared over the horizon. Its sleek design cut through the red sky, reflecting the weak sun in polished metal. Jonah pointed. "They're testing us again," he said. Mara stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "Then we give them the wrong answer." Jonah raised an eyebrow. "Wrong answer?" "Yes," she said. "They expect fear, hesitation, surrender. We'll give them calculation, unpredictability, and efficiency. That's our advantage." The ship landed lightly, kicking up dust that scattered over the plains. 3 compact officers emerged, their polished armor reflecting sunlight, their movements precise and rehearsed. "We've come to investigate," the lead officer said. "Human operations in this system have created significant anomalies." Mara crossed her arms. "We've operated efficiently according to human methods, not your rigid standards." "Is that the anomaly?" The officer hesitated, surprised by her confidence. "The compact requires compliance. Your herd movements, trade routes, and autonomous decisions are human," Mara finished. "We do not comply blindly, and we do not surrender what is ours." Jonah stepped beside her. "You can send more patrols, you can send more rules, but you won't control us. Not here, not ever." The officer's gaze flicked to the herd beasts, who shifted and lowed softly. There was a moment of tension. The compact expected fear. What they saw instead was calm confidence. "This is not acceptable," the officer said finally. "We will report this. You are warned." They turned and left, their footsteps echoing across the outpost. Dust settled slowly. Mara exhaled, relief and tension mixing in her chest. Jonah laughed softly. "You make them sweat without even touching them." Mara smiled faintly. "Humans survive because we can think where others follow rules blindly. That's our price, Jonah. That's what we trade in." Jonah watched the horizon. "And sometimes," he said, "we survive because we care enough to fight for it." Mara looked at him, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she nodded. "Yes, but caring is dangerous here." A soft beep interrupted them. Mara checked the terminal. Another data crystal, encrypted. It showed movement patterns of several compact patrols across the sector. The calculations were precise, almost mechanical. "They're planning something bigger," Mara said. "Not just testing us anymore." Jonah's eyes narrowed. "Then we plan bigger." Over the next few hours, Mara and Jonah devised a counter-strategy. Instead of confronting the compact head-on, they would use the herd beasts' unique abilities. The creatures could navigate dangerous terrain that ships could not. They could create diversions, carry supplies through otherwise blocked trade routes, and even move rapidly across unstable asteroids. It was risky. The compact would notice. They always noticed. But humans were resilient in ways others couldn't predict. Jonah approached Mara. "You ever wonder," he said quietly, "why they never expect us to do the impossible?" Mara looked at him. "Because humans have hope. Because we refuse to believe we are too small or too weak. That's why," he smiled. "I like that answer." The late afternoon brought another visitor, a human trader from a neighboring system. She arrived with news that other human outposts were beginning to resist compact interference. Mara listened carefully. Each report built a bigger picture. Humans, underestimated across the galaxy, were starting to act independently, and each successful act spread confidence to the next. "We're not alone," Mara said. Jonah nodded. "Not anymore." As night fell, the red sky darkened into deep violet. The herd beasts rested once more. Lights blinked in the outpost, tracking trade routes, patrol patterns, and the distant stars. Mara walked to the balcony, looking out across the plains. Jonah joined her silently. Neither spoke for several minutes. Finally, Jonah said, "You ever wonder what it would be like if humans ran the whole compact?" Mara smiled faintly, eyes reflecting the distant nebula. "Then maybe they would learn to respect what they can't control." Jonah laughed softly. "Exactly. 10 herds wouldn't buy it, would they?" She shook her head. "No, they still don't understand what humans value, and that's why we survive." Far above, satellites tracked the outpost, noting every movement, every calculation. The galaxy might have ignored humans at the edge, but humans had already begun to make their mark. And in the quiet of Caldera's reach, humans prepared to show the compact that strength was not always in force, but in resilience, ingenuity, and refusal to yield. The sky over Caldera's reach was a deep shade of violet, streaked with the last hints of sunlight. Dust settled over the plains, but Jonah Rook was already awake, checking the herd beasts one by one. Their massive bodies shifted, stretching long legs and arching their armored backs. They were calm, but alert, as if they knew today would be different. Jonah tapped the side of his control staff. "We've got company," he muttered. Mara Vey appeared beside him, eyes scanning the horizon. "More compact ships?" she asked. "3 of them," Jonah said, pointing to tiny specks glinting in the distance. "They've learned we're not afraid, and they don't like it." Mara's lips pressed together. "Then they'll be surprised." The compact ships descended toward the plains, their engines whistling, slicing through the thin atmosphere. Their mission was clear: take control of Mara's outpost and seize the herd beasts. But Mara had a plan. Humans had survived for centuries on worlds the compact called dangerous. They knew how to adapt, to use the terrain, to turn weakness into strength. Today would be no different. Jonah guided the herd toward a narrow canyon. "They expect us to run," he said, "but we don't." Mara nodded. "We'll use what we have. Let the herd do the talking." As the compact ships landed, the officers disembarked, expecting resistance from humans alone. They did not account for the herd. Jonah tapped a rhythm on his staff, a signal the Longhorns understood. The massive creatures moved in unison, their armored sides gleaming in the fading light. Dust rose in thick clouds, swallowing the incoming patrol's vision. The beasts grunted and stomped, filling the air with the sound of controlled power. The compact officers froze. Their automated systems were precise but slow. They did not understand instinct. They did not understand humans. Mara moved among her people, coordinating the outpost's defenses. She did not carry a weapon, she did not need one. Her mind was sharper than any blaster. "Divide the herd," she commanded. "One group to the canyon, one to the ridge. Keep them moving. Watch their formation." Jonah obeyed. The herd split as instructed, moving with grace and force that no alien algorithm could match. Dust clouds masked their movements, confusing the compact patrols. One officer tried to fire, but the longhorns moved too quickly, their massive legs kicking up barriers of dust. Jonah guided the herd carefully, weaving them in and out of the terrain. "See," Jonah said, shouting over the noise. "We don't follow rules, they do." Mara smiled faintly. "Humans survive because we adapt. That's the edge they can't calculate." The compact realized too late that they had underestimated the humans' coordination. Their patrols became disorganized, tripping over uneven ground and slipping in the dust. The longhorns moved with purpose, creating paths and blockades simultaneously. Jonah's staff glowed faintly, a control signal to the herd. The beasts formed a moving wall, forcing the compact to retreat. Every time they tried to advance, the humans seemed to be everywhere at once, directing the herd, predicting the terrain, and using every natural advantage of the planet. Mara watched from the ridge. "Good," she said quietly. "Now they'll know humans don't yield easily." The compact officers regrouped and attempted to fire energy nets to capture the longhorns. Jonah shook his head. "They don't understand our biology," he muttered. He signaled the herd to spread out. Each beast responded perfectly, dodging the nets and creating pressure points that forced the officers to retreat further. One officer shouted orders, but the humans did not follow. They had no orders but their own judgment, their own instincts, and their own courage. The compact's precision systems failed against something unpredictable: human improvisation. Mara activated the outpost's communications system. She broadcast the entire event to neighboring systems, encrypted so only human traders could decode it. Screens across distant worlds showed humans directing massive creatures with precision, evading advanced technology and standing their ground. "Proof," she said softly. "Humans can survive without begging for permission." Jonah rode along the ridge, guiding the herd toward a natural choke point. The canyon narrowed suddenly, and the longhorns pressed together, creating an impenetrable barrier. The compact officers hesitated, realizing their numerical advantage meant nothing here. "You see that?" Jonah yelled. "No algorithm can plan for this. Only humans can do it." The lead officer, frustrated, called for retreat. Their ships powered down and they lifted off. Dust swirled in the air as the patrols vanished into the distance, leaving the plains quiet once more. Mara descended from the ridge to meet Jonah. "You did well," she said. "We all did. This proves something." Jonah smiled, brushing dust from his coat. "Yes, humans are not weak. We survive because we think, because we adapt, and because we never give up, even against a galaxy that underestimates us." The herd beasts returned to their pens, tired but unharmed. Jonah patted the side of one massive creature. "Good work," he said. "You're smarter than any compact system." Mara approached, standing beside him. "You know," she said quietly, "if they ever understood humans, they might respect us. But they never will because we don't follow rules blindly." Jonah looked at her. "And that's why we win, isn't it?" "Yes," Mara said, her voice steady. "We win because we are human." The sun dipped below the horizon, turning the sky a deep violet. Stars appeared, distant and cold, but humans on Caldera's reach were warm with purpose. Jonah and Mara watched silently as the outpost lights blinked in the distance. They did not speak of what might come next. They knew the compact would return. They always did. But for tonight, humans had shown their strength, and the galaxy had begun to notice. The herd beasts shifted in their pens, low grunts echoing across the plains. The sound was a reminder that humans had allies no technology could replace. They had instinct, courage, and determination. Mara turned to Jonah. You know, she said, that remark you made yesterday about 10 herds in one night. Jonah grinned, a mischievous sparkle in his eyes. Yeah, I think it suits us, Mara said, smiling faintly. Not in the way you meant, but as a symbol. Humans cannot be owned. Not by them, not by anyone, not even by fear, Jonah laughed softly. Then we keep surviving no matter what. Yes, Mara agreed. We keep surviving and thriving and teaching them what humans are capable of. In the distance, compact surveillance satellites shifted position, noting the outpost's activity. They did not yet understand that humans had already rewritten the rules. Tonight, on Caldera's Reach, humans had won. Not through sheer firepower, but through ingenuity, courage, and unity. And Jonah and Mara knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. But humans had always survived challenges before, and they would survive again. The herd beasts settled in their pens for the night, the outpost lights glowing softly in the violet dusk. Humans stood beside them, proud and unbowed, ready for whatever the galaxy would throw next. And the compact had learned the hard way that humans were not creatures to be underestimated. Morning on Caldera's Reach was quiet, but the peace was deceptive. Mara Vey moved through the outpost with purpose, checking supply levels and scanning the horizon for patrol ships. Jonah Rook was already outside, walking among the herd beasts. Their massive forms shifted in the early light, muscles flexing, armored sides glinting faintly. The previous day had been a victory, but Mara knew it was only the beginning. The Galactic Compact would not let this stand. They would return stronger, more prepared. Jonah called to her from the pens. They're not coming yet, he said, but we've got eyes on the sky. They're watching, Mara nodded. Good, that means we have time to plan. Inside the outpost, Mara contacted human traders from neighboring systems. The encrypted comm lines flickered green as each trader acknowledged her signal. She shared intelligence about the compact's patrol patterns, the anomalies in trade routes, and the potential for coordinated resistance. We can't fight them alone, Mara said, but if we work together, we can change the rules. Jonah leaned against the wall, arms crossed. They think humans are weak, that we can be bought or broken. They don't understand what we trade in. Mara looked at him. What do we trade in? Courage, Jonah said simply. Ingenuity and stubbornness. The first compact ship appeared mid-morning, followed by another two. Unlike before, these ships moved deliberately, scanning for weaknesses, trying to anticipate human behavior. Jonah watched them with a calm expression. They expect us to panic, he said. But we don't. Mara smiled faintly. We're human. We survive where others fail. The compact officers landed and approached the outpost. Their steps were precise, their energy weapons visible, but Mara did not flinch. She stood firm, a symbol of human resolve. Human Mara Vey, the lead officer said. The compact has decided that independent operations cannot continue. You are to surrender your station and herd beasts immediately. Mara's eyes narrowed. We do not surrender. Not today, not ever. The officer's translator clicked nervously. This is illogical. You will comply or face consequences. Jonah stepped forward. Consequences. You don't understand humans. We do not act out of logic alone. We act out of survival and pride. Mara raised her hand. Enough talking. She pressed a series of buttons on the control terminal, activating automated barriers and sending signals to the neighboring outposts. Moments later, the Longhorns moved in formation outside, their presence massive and imposing. Dust rose in clouds, the ground trembling under the weight of their steps. The compact officers faltered. Their weapons were precise, but the herd moved unpredictably. Algorithms could not match human judgment. Jonah tapped his staff, guiding the creatures with subtle motions. The Longhorns formed a living wall, blocking the officer's path and creating confusion. Mara activated the communication network again, sending a live feed to human traders across the galaxy. Screens lit up with images of humans standing firm, directing massive creatures with intelligence and skill. "This is not just about us," Mara said quietly. "It is about every human outpost, every trader, every independent system. They must see we will not yield." Jonah grinned. "And they will see. Every system, every fleet, every corner of the galaxy that underestimates humans will see." The compact officers regrouped, attempting to push forward, but humans were everywhere at once. The herd moved in patterns the aliens could not predict. Paths opened and closed like living puzzles, leading the officers into dead ends while keeping the humans and Longhorn safe. One officer fired a net at a Longhorn, but Jonah had anticipated this. The creature moved instantly, dodging the trap and pressed against another, forming a solid block. The officer stumbled, realizing too late that humans think ahead in ways no algorithm could calculate. Mara walked among her people, giving orders with calm authority. "Divert the patrol to the canyon," she said. "Keep them moving but do not harm them. Show them human skill, not human cruelty." Jonah nodded. "Understood." The herd obeyed, guiding the officers into a natural bottleneck. Dust and terrain worked in their favor. The officers tried to regain control, but every move was countered with human instinct. The compact ships above did not understand the strategy, assuming brute force would win. Mara broadcast a message across the network. "We are human. We survive because we adapt. We thrive because we resist. Learn from us." The message spread quickly. Traders across multiple systems watched, inspired and motivated. Humans were no longer isolated. They were united by a shared sense of purpose and resilience. The compact officers, seeing no path forward, eventually retreated. Their ships lifted off, engines whining, leaving the humans victorious once again. Jonah and Mara watched as the dust settled. The Longhorns returned to their pens, calm but alert. The outpost stood unbroken, a beacon of human ingenuity and courage. Mara turned to Jonah. "Today proves something," she said softly. "We are not just survivors, we are leaders. We set the standard." Jonah smiled, brushing dust from his coat. "And the galaxy will notice. They can try to control us, but they will fail. Humans cannot be controlled, only respected." Mara's gaze drifted to the horizon. "They will try again, but each time we grow stronger, smarter, more united. That is the human way." The sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in shades of violet and red. Stars emerged, distant and cold, but the outpost glowed with life and determination. Jonah placed a hand on Mara's shoulder. "Tomorrow, we continue. Not just to survive, but to teach them what humans are capable of." Mara nodded. "Yes, we trade not in fear, not in submission, but in courage, skill, and unity. That is what humans offer the galaxy." In the distance, compact surveillance satellites shifted position, observing the outpost's activity. They recorded humans standing firm, guiding massive creatures and defying expectations. And across the galaxy, word spread. Humans at the edge of space had proven something remarkable, that their strength lay not in firepower alone, but in intelligence, courage, and an unyielding spirit. Mara and Jonah stood together, looking over the plains. The Longhorns shifted quietly, resting but ready. Humans had survived another challenge, and the galaxy had begun to understand. Tonight, they would rest. Tomorrow, they would continue their fight, not with hatred or violence, but with skill, unity, and the quiet power of being human. And somewhere far above, the compact realized that humans were no longer a species to dismiss lightly. They had underestimated humans, and they had learned a costly lesson. Humans did not just survive, they thrived. And they were ready to show the galaxy why. The dawn on Caldera's reach was pale, almost ghostly. Dust swirled lazily across the plains, and the herd beasts stirred in their pens, shifting their massive bodies, muscles rippling beneath their armored hides. Humans had faced threats before, but today would test them in ways they had never imagined. Jonah Rook stood atop the ridge, staff in hand, watching the horizon. The compact had escalated their presence. Multiple ships hovered just outside the atmosphere, their engines humming with precision. Officers patrolled the plains, expecting humans to cower, to surrender, or at the very least to retreat. Mara Vey joined him silently. Her expression was calm, but her eyes burned with resolve. "They've brought everything they have," she said. Jonah grinned faintly. "And they'll still fail." She gave him a small smile. "We fight not because we seek victory, but because we cannot be broken." Inside the outpost, the communications network was alive. Traders from neighboring systems had joined the feed, watching the preparations with awe. Humans were not just defending one station. They were demonstrating what humanity could do when united and determined. Mara addressed the gathered humans. "The Compact believes they can control us. They do not understand humans. They do not understand our courage, our ingenuity, or our stubbornness. Today, we show them why humans cannot be commanded." Jonah signaled to the herd. The massive creatures shifted, forming patterns that reflected careful planning, each movement precise yet unpredictable. Unlike alien machines, the herd responded to instinct and judgment, guided by humans who understood both the animals and the terrain. The first compact patrol landed, moving cautiously toward the outpost. They were met with a wall of dust and motion. The herd beasts had formed a barrier, funneling the officers into controlled paths. Energy nets flew through the air, but the humans and their beasts moved faster than predicted. Every step, every stomp, every maneuver was deliberate. Jonah's voice rang out over the comm system, guiding the herd with subtle signals. "Left flank now. Open the canyon." "Watch the ridge," the compact officers faltered. Algorithms could not predict instinct. Their precision systems struggled to adjust. Human ingenuity had created chaos in a way no machine could solve. Mara moved among her people, checking communications, giving orders, and watching every movement. Her leadership was quiet, powerful. She did not shout unnecessarily. She did not act recklessly. Humans thrived in situations where others relied solely on rules. Another compact ship attempted to land behind the ridge, hoping to trap the herd. Jonah anticipated this. The Longhorns moved in formation, cutting off the path and forcing the ship to hover, unable to descend. The officers inside the ship were helpless, constrained by protocol and the unexpected human strategy. Mara activated a secondary communication channel, broadcasting the events galaxy-wide. Traders and independent human settlements across multiple systems witnessed the humans at Caldera's Reach coordinating massive creatures, using terrain, and directing operations with skill and precision. "This is not just a defense," Mara said quietly. "This is a statement. Humans cannot be ignored. Humans cannot be controlled. Humans endure, adapt, and thrive." Jonah glanced at her. "And they'll remember it." The compact officers tried to regroup and attempt another landing, but it was futile. Humans had anticipated every move. The herd beasts moved like living walls, pushing, diverting, and channeling the enemy without unnecessary violence. It was control through intelligence and presence, not destruction. One officer shouted orders, but humans were already several steps ahead. Every pattern they tried was countered by instinct, by judgment, by human improvisation. The compact had never faced anything like this. They realized too late that numbers alone could not win against humans who acted with unity, courage, and foresight. Mara climbed a small rise and raised her hand. The herd responded immediately, forming a new configuration to block another ship's approach. Dust clouds and shadows turned the battlefield into a living labyrinth. The officers could see, but they could not reach the humans or their beasts. Jonah rode along the ridge beside Mara. "They expected us to be weak," he said. "They expected fear. They expected surrender." Mara looked at him. "But we are human," she said simply. "And humans never surrender." Above, compact surveillance satellites recorded the events, noting the precision, the control, and the human strategy. Somewhere in the galaxy, leaders watched the live feed, surprised by the human skill. Rumors of weak humans dissolved as the truth became clear. Humans were cunning, adaptable, and unstoppable when united. The compact officers, seeing no path forward, finally retreated. Their ships lifted off, engines whining, leaving the plains quiet once more. Dust settled. The herd beasts returned to their pens, calm but alert, as if they knew the battle had been won without unnecessary bloodshed. Mara turned to Jonah. "This proves it," she said quietly. "Humans are not just survivors. We are leaders. We are innovators. We are unstoppable when we work together." Jonah nodded. "And the galaxy will see. They cannot dismiss us now." The sun set behind the mountains, casting long shadows across the plains. Stars appeared, distant and cold, but the outpost glowed with life, determination, and triumph. Humans had not just defended their home, they had made a statement that would ripple across the galaxy. Mara addressed the assembled humans, her voice strong and clear. "We do not trade in fear. We do not trade in submission. We trade in courage, ingenuity, and unity. That is what humans bring to the galaxy. That is what the Compact must learn." Jonah placed a hand on her shoulder. "We've shown them what humans are capable of. And we'll continue to show them every day, everywhere." Mara nodded, eyes reflecting the stars above. "Yes, we will continue. And someday the galaxy will respect humans not because we are powerful in the way they expect, but because we are clever, resourceful, and unbreakable." The herd beasts shifted quietly in their pens, a living reminder of human adaptability and care. They were not weapons. They were partners, allies, and symbols of humanity's connection to the natural and engineered world alike. Jonah and Mara stood together, overlooking the plains. Humans had survived yet another challenge, and the galaxy had finally begun to understand. The Compact had learned a crucial lesson. Humans could not be underestimated, could not be bought or controlled, and would never yield in the face of arrogance. That night, under the violet sky of Caldera's Reach, humans rested, but not idly. They were vigilant, prepared, and united. They were ready for the next challenge, whatever the galaxy would send. And somewhere far across the stars, the Compact reconsidered their assumptions. Humans were not a species to dismiss. They were not weak. They were not predictable. Humans were unstoppable. Mara turned to Jonah one last time that night. "You know," she said softly, "that remark you made when you arrived at 10 herds for one night." Jonah smiled, faintly embarrassed. "Yes," she laughed softly, a sound like wind across the plains. "It doesn't matter. Humans cannot be bought, bargained, or owned. Not by them, not by anyone. And that is exactly why we win." Jonah nodded. "Then we keep surviving and showing the galaxy what it means to be human." The stars above Caldera's Reach shone brighter than usual, as if witnessing the quiet triumph of a species that had survived, adapted, and risen against all odds. The galaxy had changed that night. And humans had shown once again that their true strength was not just in their arms, but in their courage, ingenuity, and unyielding spirit. Caldera's Reach was safe, for now, but humanity's story, their rise at the edge of the galaxy, was only beginning.